Hey, I'm bored, so I thought I'd show you a collection video. This is my PlayStation 1 games. Right here we got Atari Anniversary Edition Redux. And this was originally released on the Dreamcast, but it didn't have the ability to save, hence the Redux. And this was a $10 game. It was actually cheaper than the crappy version that came out on Dreamcast. And it has two different games on it. There are in place of two other games. I can't remember which ones. But yeah, it has like Interview with Nolan Bushnell, and has a excuse me, it has a excerpt from Phoenix, the book Phoenix, The Rise and Fall of whatever video games, arcades or some shit like that. I can't remember the name of it anymore. What they did throw in here on this version was Black Widow, which is a color vector game that I used to play in the arcade all the time when I was a kid. And let's see, what was the other? Space Duel, that was it. Another color vector game. So this is actually a very worthwhile purchase if you don't own it. Williams Arcade's Greatest Hits. You've seen this type of stuff 100 times since these have come out. They've been reissued on every conceivable platform ever. Here is Midway presents Arcade's Greatest Hits Midway Collection Volume 2. I had the version that came out before this, Volume 1, but it ended up, I lent it to a brother-in-law and he lent it to his cousin, and I never saw it again, and I got a really shitty game back in return as a replacement, and I'll show you that in a minute. Well, okay, a long minute. Konami Arcade Classics. These are very deep in the archives of Konami. It has on it Puyan, which is kind of a crappy pig sort of, I can't remember what this is about. It's a pig game. Something that has to do with pigs and balloons and shit. Circus Charlie, Shaolin's Road. That was fun. Rock and Rope. Yi Ar Kung Fu. Scramble. Road Fighter, some kind of racing game. Super Cobra, which I didn't know was an arcade game for a long time. I used to play a tabletop version of it at a friend's house when I was about 9 years old, and I really enjoyed that. Arcade version of Gyrus, and Time Pilot, another game that I really spent a lot of time playing in the arcade. This is actually Namco Museum Volume 1. I don't have the real cover for it, so unfortunately I need to complete this, and not in a Greatest Hits version. I want them all to match up because they all spell out Namco. Namco 2, this game was pretty hard to get a hold of, but I persevered and found one without having to resort to eBay. So the games on here are Xevious, Gopless, which is the sequel to not Galaxian, but the other one. Shit. You know which one I'm talking about. Galaga. You can use the tractor beam in that one against the bad guys and have extra firepower that way instead of losing a life. Pretty cool. Super Pac-Man, Mappy, Grobda, and Dragon Buster. None of those are very good except for Super Pac-Man, and Xevious is okay, but it's really annoying to listen to. And Gapless, yeah, Gapless, and that's about it. Namco 3, this is the 1 and 3 are the only ones that actually sold out of this whole series, so the rest of them are actually pretty hard to find. This one had Galaxian, Ms. Pac-Man, Pole Position 2, Dig Dug, Fozon, and Tower of Drauga. And look at this, Volume 4. This was something that eluded me for a very long time, and I only paid $5 for it. This has Assault, Packland, Ordine, Return of Ishtar, and Genji and Heike clans. And the last one that I mentioned was released on the TurboGrafx in the US as Samurai Ghost. And then Volume 5, another one that's extremely hard to come by without resorting to eBay. And I got this one brand new for pretty cheap at Software Etc. And it has Metrocross, Baraduke, Dragon Spirit, Pac-Mania, and The Legend of Valkyria. And a friend of mine used to come over while I was at work, and he would beat my high score on Pac-Mania, put in his initials, and leave it in there while I was playing Silent Hill. And that was his little signature as to him being here. Isn't that right, Lewis? Bust a Move 99, one of the last games I picked up before I left Tucson. It's actually Bust a Move 3. Pretty fun. It's typical Bust a Move. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Castlevania Chronicles, which is a Japanese computer game that was remade for the US, and it has the original version on here as well. And it took many years for the follow-up for this to actually come out, and that came out on the PSP, and that is the Castlevania Dracula X collection. Einhander, this is when Square was doing cool stuff, branching out from RPGs, and this was a pretty good side-scrolling shooter, and it's fun to play, and it's pretty tough. Good game. Recommend it. Here is Fist of the North Star. This was something that I was after for a pretty long time. It looks like Berserk, but with Fist of the North Star type characters. I don't know that for sure because I haven't actually got a chance to play this, because my modded PlayStation went belly up when I had this actually en route to me from the person I bought it from. So I never got a chance to play it, and that sucks. And then here is Gamera 2000, similar to Panzer Dragoon. It has live action cutscenes that are really badly acted by people that are native to Japan, but they speak English. So you get to hear them speak broken English, or you can watch it dubbed into Japanese, which is pretty funny. There's a lot of options for that. Here's G Darius, an import game. Very good shooter. It's worth tracking down. Pretty badass game. Really good music also. Here's was one of those cheap ass games that they sold at the checkout stands toward the end of the life of the PlayStation. It's called Gekio Shooting King, and I can't remember what this was in Japan, but this is the stripped down budget version of it, which is permanently in this kind of fixed aspect ratio, instead of letting you change it from full screen to Tate mode, and it doesn't let you save high scores, I don't think, if I'm remembering right. And here is the tremendously annoying Gex. Shitty platformer from the days of shitty platformers. Pretty cool platformer, the Ghost in the Shell. Really good animated cutscenes, and a pretty good game, solid game all around here. You can walk around in a tank from the movies, and you can climb up walls and buildings and stuff and jump really high, and I think it's compared to Jumping Flash, but I've never played that game before. Jersey Devil, another pretty generic 3D platformer, but I got it from this guy in my area, his little antique shop, and that's also where I got Gex. Klonoa, the Door to Phantom Mile. I got this at Software Etc. way back when you know, they still sold PlayStation games. I got this for about $3, and it is in good condition and complete. And here is the game that I was given as a consolation for that missing game that I was talking about. The Midway's Arcade classic game. Machine Head. This is a crappy first-person shooting game where you pilot around this vehicle, and this was on Saturn and I don't know what else, probably PC. It's no good. It's shitty. And let's see, here is MK4. I played this in the arcade at Walmart initially. Was not impressed, and I didn't like the direction that the game was going. I kind of really liked the original, 2D and the digitized characters, and I didn't really want to see that let go. And I was very averse to 3D games at that point in time, and I was not very receptive to either the Saturn or the PlayStation because I just didn't think anything that was 3D looked worth a shit. Thought everything looked like like origami. That was Metal Gear Solid if you couldn't fucking read. And then here's Metal Gear Solid, the VR missions, the VR missions. Yeah, that exists, and I have it, and yay. The next Tetris, this has a theme song, and it goes like this: Tetris, 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 forever. Kind of funny. Anyway, picked that one up for my wife mainly, but I like Tetris. I have a few on several systems. Omega Boost. This is a cool game. This was made by the guys that did Gran Turismo. Again, live action cutscenes, but this is in space and zero gravity shooting, blasting, robot mech, blowy-uppy, stuffy type of game. Really cool. I definitely recommend picking that one up, or at least playing it, because it's fun. And this is a game called One, and it is a run and gun. It is 3D. It is, I guess, similar sort of in ways to Contra, but it's very, very difficult as far as the platforming elements go, because the camera sucks for one, and the other thing is the collision detection where you're jumping on platforms and shit. It doesn't register sometimes and you just fall to your death. It really is annoying, and if you can get past some of the really tough parts of this game, it's actually pretty enjoyable, but this is not the best, but not horrible. There was a game that I picked up just on a whim because I had never seen it before. It's called Pinobi, or Pinobi. I don't know for sure what it is pronounced, how it is pronounced, I mean. Has a little Hudson B on the corner though, that's why I picked it up. And it is a platformer, and you can dart around the screen and sting things because you're this bee character. And I do believe this is also on the Game Boy Color or the Game Boy Advance. I don't know for sure. It's on one of those two things. Probably Game Boy Color. Pocket the fighter, pocket the fighter. This is great. Just buy it. It's on the PlayStation Network and the Xbox Live Arcade, I believe. Get it. Fun to play. Cubert. This has the classic mode and some new modes, and then there's a new version that is available on the PlayStation Network that I just saw the other day, which looks pretty cool. I like Cubert a lot. I used to play that when I was a kid in the arcades. This is Ray Crisis, and this game kicks all kinds of butt, and if you can't get it, obtain it through emulation or whatever. This is a good game, and it's a lot of fun to play. It's a shooting game, a vertical shooter in the Ray series. Pretty good game. R-Type Delta, amazing R-Type game, really good music, really good graphics, kind of tough to get a hold of, but worth it. I got mine for I don't know, cheap. I don't remember how much I paid for it, but it wasn't eBay prices. And then R-Types. I found this one before I found the R-Type Delta. It took me a couple of years to find R-Type Delta, even though I had a bootleg copy from a modded PlayStation. This is the first two arcade games, and it's pretty cool. And it has a CG intro. And there I am, right on the cover. See, it has the name Alan on this guy's helmet. Says Alan, and he's dead. That's because he sucks at the R-Type game, just like I do. And here is a Skeleton Warriors game. This was also on the Saturn, which I had a long time ago. This came out after the cartoon and the toys and everything was canceled. And this is a side-scrolling game with 3D-dimensional background, so it's 2.5D side-scrolling hack and slash. It's pretty fun, and if you're old enough to remember the G.I. Joe Intruders, those guys are actually in the game. Skull Monkeys. This is made by Doug Tenapple. I don't know what his name is pronounced. How his name is pronounced, I mean. Cool lenticular cover. This is the sequel to a PC game called the Neverhood. Neverhood, not the Neverrealm. It's a lot of fun. It's like Earthworm Jim. This is Soul Divide, another budget game. This was on the Saturn. The Saturn version is a bit better. It's side-scrolling, sort of like a shooting game, except you use a ranged weapon, like a spear or a sword, and you use this angel character, and you fly around and you attack foes with your weapon. It's really cool. Buy this game. And here is Spider, the video game. This is a very unique, weird game. You get turned into a spider early on in the game, and you can arm your 8 legs with different types of attributes like guns and knives, as you can see on the cover. And you can climb up walls, you can use your webs, get into small spots, and encounter large objects like, you know, houseplants and other bugs, obstacles like jumping off of a desk to another thing, you know, shit like that. Pretty interesting game, pretty unique. Spider-Man. This is a good game. And here is the sequel, Spider-Man 2, Enter Electro. A little background on this is that it was going to be released very close to the September 11th attacks, and the last boss takes place on top of the World Trade Center originally, and the developers they pushed the two buildings together to make it one big building, so it actually made the last boss fight a little bit easier. And some versions of the original World Trade Center are out there somewhere. And here's Strider 2. It also includes a PlayStation version of Strider 1, and they are mislabeled. Strider 1 and Strider 2 are mislabeled. This version that says Strider is actually Strider 2, and the other one that says Strider 2 is actually Strider 1. And there's some pretty cool unlockables in here. And the hinge on this is broken, so I'll have to find another case for that eventually. And as you saw in a pickup video previously, here's the Smurfs. Side-scrolling 2.5D platformer, 3D. Doesn't have the Smurfs theme song to annoy you, as far as I have played. It has not had that. Soul Blade, the predecessor to Soul Calibur, and its mini sequels. Pretty great game. And here's the best game ever, Spice World. And this was sort of an anomaly, and I had to just see for myself what this was like, because there was no advertising for this game at all, and I worked at a record store when these gals were all the rage, along with their contemporaries like the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and other stuff of that nature. And I sold probably about 500 billion copies of their first 2 albums alone in my store. It wasn't my store, I didn't own it, but I worked there. And like I said, it was just something that I saw at the store, and I was like, I wonder why there's no advertising or anything for this, because Spice Girl stuff was everywhere. I taught my niece to ride a fucking Spice Girls bicycle. So I digress. Star Gladiator. This is a pretty cool game, knockoff of Star Wars. Every character is a ripoff of a Star Wars character. Capcom 3D fighting, pretty good. Star Wars Dark Forces, it's basically Doom or Wolfenstein, but with Star Wars stuff. I don't like it, it's not very fun to play. Star Wars Masters of Terras Kazi, kind of a very piss poor fighting game, 3D fighting game, but I like crappy fighting games, so that's all good. Star Wars Rebel Assault 2, full motion video, has the worst Darth Vader impersonation you'll ever hear. Lots of cutscenes, and the main reason I bought this is because the main character in this game looks exactly like a dude that I lived with. And the actor's name is Jameson Jones, and he resembles a certain individual that is on YouTube. Well, reminds me of a certain individual on YouTube that you might see in JCAU 99's videos every once in a while. And I think you know who I'm talking about. Here is a jewel case version of Tekken with no green ugliness on it. I did not know this existed. Tekken 2, I am on a Tekken kick. The only one I don't have is Tag Tournament. Here's Tekken 3. Really lucky that I found all of those in the condition that they are in, and without the ugly green stripe. Here's Tetris Plus, just another Tetris, but this has a little guy that walks around and kind of helps you out. Thunder Force 5 Perfect System. This is a little bit different and harder than the Saturn version, which I also have. The Saturn version is an import. This game is dope and very much worth picking up. And here is my favorite series of racing games. The only racing games I'll play: Wipeout XL and Wipeout 3. And those games, they were very fun, very fast-paced, very quick racing. It was great. I loved it. And to play it now is still a joy. Then here's X-Men Mutant Academy, a 3D fighting game. There's a second one and a third one. The third one is on the GameCube and PS2 and stuff like that. And I do have one long box PlayStation game. And this is what it looks like. It's Tekken, yeah. I ended up buying that on accident because I forgot that I had the jewel cased one. And I do have a few others that are just bootlegs. But so what, you know. I had a modded PS1 back in the day that could play Burns, and I started off my collection with Burns, and I got Hercules, Bloody Roar, Japanese version of R-Type Delta, Japanese version of Soul Blade, got Phil Soma, Alundra, and the Japanese version of Tenchu, and then this 101 Sega Master System Classics, which has really bad emulation. It's a homebrew thing, and I got it off of Yahoo auctions shit, like 15, 16 years ago. I don't even remember. It's been a long time. Anyway, sorry this ran so long, and you guys do take care of yourselves, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you again soon.